Hello, everyone. Welcome to the International Student Orientation for Fall 2026, Part 1, Study Permit and Travel Tips. So in this session, we will only cover study permit and travel tips. For a more comprehensive understanding of your pre- and post-arrival journey, we encourage you to attend our other sessions in this series as well. Those of you who are watching the recording, please note that the auto caption functionality may not be 100% accurate. And first off, let's start with a land acknowledgement. I would like to respectfully acknowledge that Simon Fraser University is located on the unceded traditional territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, Katzie, Coquitlam, Kikut, Kwantlen, Semiahmoo, and Tsawwassen nations. And what I've just shared is a land acknowledgement. Some of you may be familiar with the concept of that, and while it might be new for others. So we acknowledge the land to honor the indigenous people who have lived and worked in this land historically and presently, and to instill an awareness of land rights in the settler colonial society. Moving on to the agenda. First over here. Here are the list of topics that we'll be covering, starting with study permit, enrollment requirements, working in Canada, travel tips, and then admissions and deferral. Each section will have its own Q&A portion, and then we will have extended Q&A at the end of the presentation for any remaining and additional questions you may have. And yeah, I'll pass on for our presenters to introduce themselves now.
Thank you, Neela. Hello, everyone. My name is Prerna, and I am an International Student Advisor Immigration Specialist here at SFU. I'm also a regulated Canadian immigration consultant, which means I'm authorized to provide immigration information to international students. Our team is looking forward to welcoming you all this fall term. Over to you, Angel.
Hi, everyone. My name is Angel Kwan. I am a representative from the Student Recruitment and Admissions Office for undergraduate students. I work closely with our international students, and I'm on the international recruitment team. I hope all of you should find this information session useful, and we look forward to seeing you on campus this fall.
Awesome. Thank you both. And so after this, let's move on to our first introduction to, so what can International Services for Students support me with? So for our office, ISS, as we commonly refer to it, is a key resource for international students at SFU. Our team consists of regulated Canadian immigration consultants, such as Perna, who is on our panel today. And these advisors are licensed to provide you with advice relating to study permanent visas and your eligibility to work in Canada. We can also offer advice on medical insurance and navigating the Canadian healthcare system. We also offer transition support to new students. You will hear about some of these initiatives for transition support a little later. So the ISS office also administers a study abroad program, such as international exchanges and field schools. We also offer unique support to refugee and newcomer communities. You can connect with the team in multiple ways. We offer both in-person and virtual appointments at all 3 SFU campuses. You can also get in touch with us through email. And finally, our website has a wealth of resources on various topics relevant to international students, which students can explore themselves. We also, over here, one of the resources I would like to highlight for today are the welcome guides specific to international students. So we have 5 guides tailored for different international pathways, and they all come with downloadable step-by-step checklists that you should do depending on your category to ensure you won't miss anything important as you transition to SFU. We also have instruction guides and other topical information relevant to international students. So we highly recommend you to explore our website, and also scan the QR code over here. Okay. And we also have a dedicated space for international students called the Global Student Center, which we also refer to as the GSC. So the GSC is more than just a space on campus. It's a welcoming hub designed to support international students and help you feel connected. We host a variety of social events and offer drop-in partner services such as career advising, academic writing support, wellness guidance, and more. So all of these services are designed to make it easier for you to find community, support, and feel at home at SFU. I highly encourage you to join the events at the GSC and come say hi to us when you start in fall, especially during, I believe our first event would be the Welcome Social. So we really look forward to seeing you all there. And finally, I urge you to scan the QR code to learn more about what the GSC has to offer to you. And moving on for next one. Starting with Purna, we'll have the study permit. Heading it off to you.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's go to the next slide then.
Yeah, so the first question I have is what immigration documents do I need to study at SFU?
Okay, thank you, Nita, for asking the question. Let's move on to the next slide. Yes. So before I answer this question, I would like to mention that the immigration information we are sharing today is accurate as of January 9, 2026, as written on the top of the slide. Immigration policies and processes can change, so we always recommend that you check IRCC website and connect with our team if you need support. I also want to reassure everyone that this information that we are presenting today, you don't need to memorize all of it. If you forget something or if you need immigration support during your time at SFU, please make sure you come to our office, you come speak with International Services for Students, and we are here to help you access these resources. Now, talking about immigration documents. There are two main categories that I want to highlight. One is travel documents, and the other one is status documents. Travel documents are documents that allow you to travel to Canada. Examples include a TRV, temporary resident visa, or an ETA, electronic travel authorization. Whether you need a TRV or an ETA, it depends on your country of citizenship. Students from visa required countries generally need a TRV, while students from visa exempt countries require an ETA. An exception to this is US. If you are a US national, you do not require a TRV or a ETA to travel to Canada. Keep in mind that TRV and ETA are travel documents only. They allow you to travel to Canada, but they do not give you legal status inside Canada. If you applied for your study permit from outside Canada and it has been approved already, IRCC issues TRV or ETA the same time as you receive your study permit approval. Now let's talk about status documents. These documents authorize your stay and activities inside Canada. Some examples include study permit, work permit, or visitor records. For international students, your study permit is the document that allows you to study in Canada and outlines the conditions you must follow as a student. For students who applied for their initial study permit from outside Canada, your study permit is issued when you arrive at Canadian Port of Entry, which is an airport for most of you. A CBSA officer will review your documents, including your approval letter that was issued by IRCC, and then they will issue you a study permit at the border. Okay. Next question, Mila.
So I have a study permit from my previous Canadian school. Do I need to apply for a new study permit?
Okay, so in November of 2024, IRCC introduced changes for study permit holders who are changing institutions. Under these changes, most students are required to apply for a new study permit and receive approval before they can begin studying at their new institution. This includes students transferring to SFU from another DLI within Canada, as well as students moving from a Canadian high school to SFU. However, for those of you who are moving from high school to post-secondary studies, if you have applied for your study permit while your current study permit from high school was valid, you may be able to begin your studies at SFU while you're waiting for a decision on your application. Since the requirement can depend on your specific situation, we highly recommend that you review IRCC website for most up-to-date information about changing schools or programs. You can scan the QR code on the slide to access more details about transferring to SFU, if you already have a study permit or if you're moving from high school or other post-secondary institutions. Okay, let's move on to the next question, Neela.
Okay, thank you so much for answering that one, Prerna. And the third question, and I am applying for my SFU study permit. Do I need a provincial attestation letter or a PAL?
So, under current IRCC policies, most students applying for a study permit are required to include a PAL with their application unless they meet one of IRCC's exemption. Some examples of the situation where you need a PAL, including changing schools, for example, transferring to SFU from another post-secondary institution, or if you're moving from secondary school level to post-secondary level of studies, that's when you need a PAL. Additionally, if your study permit application was previously refused and now you wish to submit a new study permit application, you need to obtain a new PAL and include it with your application. So as long as if you're applying for a study permit from outside Canada and you're entering an undergraduate program, you will need a PAL. Again, you can scan the QR code on the right-hand side of the slide to learn more about provincial attestation letter requirements. Okay.
So immigration requirements, enrollment requirements, and working in Canada. Still continuing on with Perna. Our first question for this one is, do study permit holders have to study full-time every term?
Yes, so this is a very common question that we receive from a lot of international students. I highly recommend that you review SFU's enrollment information or enrollment requirement information. You can scan the QR code to find more about SFU's enrollment requirements. As a study permit holder, it is important that you understand and comply with the conditions of your study permit while you're here in Canada. One of these conditions is that you must actively pursue your studies. This means that you are expected to make reasonable progress towards completing your program and remain enrolled during your required academic sessions. At SFU, enrollment requirements can depend on your level of study and your program. For undergraduate students, the spring and fall terms are considered required academic terms, which means that you're expected to actively pursue studies or remain enrolled full-time during these terms. While summer term is generally considered as optional term, and it is a scheduled break, which we'll discuss in next few slides for many undergraduate programs. From an immigration perspective, undergraduate students are generally considered full-time if they are enrolled in 9 units or more in a required term. Let's move on to the next question.
Can I work in Canada while I am studying?
So, when thinking about working in Canada as international students, the first and foremost thing is that you review the conditions listed on your study permit. Your study permit will indicate whether you are authorized to work and what conditions apply to you. To be eligible to work on campus, you must have a valid study permit with the right conditions, have appropriate, and you must be enrolled full-time at SFU, and you will need a SIN number, which is issued by Service Canada before you begin working. On-campus work includes work performed at any of the SFU campuses, including Burnaby, Surrey, and Vancouver. Some other examples of on-campus work include working with SFU faculty members, working as teaching assistants or research assistants, working at, and as long as it's on campus, working for a student organization, or working for a private business located on campus that provides services to the university community. Next slide. So working off campus, you may also be eligible to work off campus as an international student. Under current IRCC policies, eligible students can work up to 24 hours per week during regular academic sessions students may be eligible to work full-time during scheduled breaks. So for most undergraduate programs, summer is scheduled break. Scheduled break can include breaks between terms, reading week, and summer term. For undergraduate students, summer is considered a scheduled break if you're enrolled full-time before summer and you will return to full-time studies after summer, or the term after summer is your final academic term. The eligibility requirements for off-campus work are similar to what we discussed for on-campus work. You must have a valid study permit with the right conditions, be enrolled full-time, be actively pursuing studies, and be enrolled in an eligible program that leads to a degree, diploma, or certificate that is at least 6 months in duration. And as I mentioned previously, you will need a SIN number before you can begin working. In the next slide, we will talk about co-op work. IRCC introduced an update, and it's an important one, on April 1, 2026. Under the current policy, eligible international students may no longer need to apply for a separate co-op work permit to participate in an approved SFU approved work term. Earlier, students enrolled in co-op terms would need a co-op work permit for that. Instead of work permit, eligible students may be able to use the work authorization that's listed on their study permit as long as they meet all of IRCC's requirements that we'll talk about now. Some of the eligibility criteria include having the appropriate work authorization conditions on the study permit, have confirmation that work term is a required part of your program, and this confirmation comes from your faculty or from your school. And you must have a proof of the confirmation either in the form of an SFU co-op letter or a letter of acceptance, must indicate that co-op is a required part of your program. And IRCC may request this documentation in the future if they wish to do so. Your study permit must also remain valid during your work term, or you must have applied to extend it before it expires, which means you are on maintained status. Additionally, if you must meet IRCC's enrollment requirements, the co-op or work component must make up less than 50% of your overall program, or up to 50%, and you must have a SIN number before you can begin working. Okay, next question now.
And the next one, can I stay in Canada and work after I finish my studies at SFU?
Right, so often we are asked this question, and many students at SFU were interested in staying in Canada after completing their studies. One option that may be available to eligible students is applying for post-graduation work permit, also called PGWP. A PGWP is an open work permit that allows eligible graduates to work in Canada after completing their program of study. For example, if you graduate from an undergraduate program which is at least 2 years in duration, you are eligible to apply for a PGWP, which could be valid for up to 3 years. Some of the key eligibility requirements include completing a program that is at least 8 months in duration to be eligible for PGWP and maintaining full-time enrollment during your required academic terms. For undergraduate students, this means that you must be full-time during spring and fall terms, and then summer is a break for you. There are also some exceptions to full-time enrollment requirements, such as final academic term or an authorized leave that meets IRCC's requirements. As of November 1, 2024, PGWP applicants are also required to demonstrate English or French language proficiency when applying for PGWP. Additionally, IRCC introduced field of study requirements for some graduates from certain non-degree programs. However, this does not apply to SFU graduates from bachelor's, master's, or doctoral degree programs. When you complete your studies, you must apply for a PGWP within 180 days of receiving confirmation of program completion, and you must have had the authorization to study in Canada within 90 days of receiving your program completion letter. This is just a brief introduction to PGWP eligibility. We know that many students have questions about working after graduation, and we will cover PGW requirements in more detail through future workshops and resources during your time here at SFU. You may scan the QR codes on the slide for more information on PGWP. Okay, so if everybody has scanned the QR code, we can move forward to the next slide.
So immigration requirements for travel tips.
Okay.
What documents do I need to carry when I travel to Canada?
So when you're preparing for your travel to Canada, it's important that you make sure that you carry all the required documents with you, which includes your passport or your travel document, your your TRV, which is temporary resident visa or ETA, and your study permit. If you don't have a study permit, your study permit approval letter from IRCC. If your approval letter from IRCC. You should also carry proof that you will be studying at SFU. This includes your SFU letter of acceptance. You can download your confirmation of enrollment letter from GoSFU account. If CBSA officer requests for your current enrollment, it's best to just include that and present it to the CBSA it's best to download it and keep it with you in the pile of your documents and present it to the CBSA officer if they request it. We also recommend that you carry proof of funds that you used when applying for your study permit. If you were required to complete an immigration medical exam, make sure that it is still valid and you carry your medical exam confirmation documents with you when you travel to Canada. Make sure that you scan the FAQ's QR code on the slide for more detailed information about traveling to Canada and documents you need to prepare before you arrive here.
Thank you for that, Prerna. And the next question, once my study permit is approved, how soon can I travel to Canada?
Another common question we receive from students is, when should I travel? IRCC does not provide a specific number of days or weeks for how early you can arrive before your program begins. Generally, you should plan to arrive within a reasonable amount of time before classes start so that you have enough time to settle in. It's important to remember that you cannot start working on or off campus until you meet the eligibility requirements. And one of the requirements is that your studies have started, and that's when you can begin working. Canadian embassies often recommend arriving no more than approximately 4 weeks before the start of your term. From a CBSA perspective, officers generally expect students to arrive within a reasonable time frame before classes begin. Arriving earlier was not prohibited, but the final decision to allow entry into Canada is made by the Border Services Officer. They may ask additional questions about your plans if you arrive significantly early. So, if you are planning to arrive early, be prepared to clearly explain your reasons for early arrival, how you plan to support yourself before classes begin, and that you understand that you're not authorized to work before your studies start and before meeting work eligibility requirements. Yeah, that's all I had to say for this component. Make sure again you scan the QR code for more information on traveling to Canada.
Thank you for that. And with this, moving on to the admission and deferral process with Angel. What should I do if I am unable to start my studies in September?
All right. So This is the main question that I want to address today. What should I do if I'm unable to start my studies? For example, what if my study permit is not approved in time for the fall term? Here, I want to provide information regarding our admission deferral process for undergraduate students. Generally speaking, we do have a flexible admission deferral process available, but there are steps that you must follow, and admission deferral is not guaranteed. Um, so, um, next slide, please.
Yes, sorry about that.
All right. Now, what does admission deferral actually mean? Admission deferral essentially means that you have accepted an SFU admission offer for the September 2026 term, but then you realize you're unable to start your studies in September and will need to start at a later term. Students may need to request for an admission deferral if they, for example, faced exceptional unforeseen circumstances, for example, a sudden illness that prevents you from starting your studies. Another example is if they need to participate in mandatory military service, or if they're facing a delay in their study permit application decision, then admission deferral will normally happen. To be considered for admission deferral, you must submit a formal request. It is not an automatic process. The admission deferral application period for the September term is from July 1st to August 15th. I will share more on how to submit the request in the next slide. Now, some students joining us today may still be waiting for their study permit to be issued. And if your study permit approval is delayed, you may also need to apply for a admission deferral. In this case, we ask that you continue to wait to see if you can get your study permit in time to start your studies in September. We're in July right now. There is still time for your study permit to be approved. So we do have a later deferral application period specifically for those experiencing study permit delays. The application period for a study permit delay will start on August 17th, and the deadline is September 15th. Okay, on this slide, I've also listed a few reasons. Oh, sorry, back to the previous slide, please, Neela.
Okay.
Yes. On the slide, I've also listed some reasons where deferrals will not be granted. Deferrals will not be granted for students who do not meet the conditions of their admission offer. Deferrals will also not be granted for students who are financially not ready to start their studies, or if they're waiting for their Canadian residency status. And we also do not grant deferrals if you have plans to attend another post-secondary institution. And I am aware that I'm sharing a lot of information right now, but there is a QR code on the slide that will bring you to our webpage that recaps all of this information. Next slide, please. Okay, more information on how to submit an admission deferral request. First, accept your offer and pay the admission deposit in the Student Center. Next, prepare supporting documentation for the request. Examples of supporting documentation can be like a study permit rejection letter, medical records, letter confirming your military service, etc. Email your request to international_recruitment@sfu.ca with your reason for deferral, including the supporting documents, and indicate which term you wish to start your studies. You can start your studies at SFU in January, May, or the September term. It is possible to defer your admission for a maximum of 1 year. Next, review your application to-do list in the Student Center and submit any outstanding final transcripts or exam results that's required to meet the conditions of your admission offer. For those who have applied to live on-campus housing, just a reminder that you are responsible to notify the SFU Residence and Housing Office of your admission deferral by emailing housing@sfu.ca. Next slide, please. There are some consideration if there's any possibility you may need to defer your admission. For example, if you are a recipient of an SFU entrance scholarship, award, or bursary, you will need to connect with the Financial Aid and Awards Office directly to determine if the award can also be deferred. Next, don't forget about course enrollment. If there's any possibility you may be able to start your studies in September, you should still go ahead and register and enroll in courses. That's very important. We're currently in the course enrollment period right now. Popular courses can fill up quickly, so you want to enroll and reserve your spot in the course you wish to take. And if your deferral is confirmed, then you drop all your courses in the enrollment system before the start of term, or you may be charged penalties. On my next slide, I will be sharing some of the key deadlines for dropping courses. Classes for the September term will officially start on September 9th. You can start your program late, but we really do not recommend starting beyond week 2. We also offer very limited online courses. Most of our programs are designed to be in person. So if you're unable to be at SFU in person for September, then you should apply for admission deferral. And if you are planning to arrive late, I think this point was addressed earlier, it is your responsibility to notify your professors and instructors and to catch up on any missed coursework. Finally, starting late may have implications on your post-graduation work permit eligibility. For this topic, I encourage you to connect with our international student advisors to discuss your personal circumstances. All right, on this slide, there's a QR code for some important fall dates and deadlines. I'll give you 10, 20 seconds to go to that, and then we can move to our next slide. All right, next slide, please. Okay, this is my last slide. This slide here shows you some of the key tuition refund dates for the September term. As I mentioned, classes will officially start on September 9th. You can continue to add or drop courses all the way until September 15th and receive a 100% refund for drop courses. And if you drop courses by September 15th, there is no note on your academic record. September 22nd is the last day to withdraw from individual courses without a withdrawal notation in your academic record. If you are withdrawing from all classes, a withdrawal notation will be added. Between September 16 to September 22nd, you will receive a 75% tuition refund for drop courses. And if you drop a course between September 23rd to September 29th, you will receive a 50% refund, and there is no refund for courses dropped after September 29. I think these dates are important to know if there's any possibility you may need to start your studies late, or you want to add or drop courses after the term starts. Okay, so that comes to the end of the information I am sharing. You're welcome to connect with the international recruitment team directly if you have any questions about what I shared today. I'll put my email in the chat. It is international_recruitment@sfu.ca. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and that concludes this section. We'll move on to the mini Q&A for this topic, and then directly after that, the extended Q&A session. I'll pause the recording here for that.